Well, this is going to be fun. We're going to talk football and life with a legendary Philadelphia Eagles safety. He is in the Eagles Hall of Fame. Still today, the Birds' all-time leader in interceptions with 34, the same number as both Eric Allen and Brian Dawkins, but this guy did it in fewer games. And he's just a lot of fun, a real free spirit, the great Bill Bradley. Super Bill, welcome back.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the call. And, every time I see an article about those two guys, and they're wonderful people I've got when they bring us back to games, they always say, when the articles I see, they say, Brian Dawkins, the leading interceptor, all-time interceptor of the Philadelphia Eagles. And they don't even mention me. But I was the first person to do it. And I call whoever does it, and I say, now just wait a minute. Let's get this right. And they're great people, both of them.
Hey, and we have a bonus guest tonight, too, joining us. The guy who wrote the book about Super Bill Bradley, that is. It's called Free Spirit at Free Safety, the incredible but true football journey of Bill Bradley. Author Joe Zagorski. Joe, welcome as well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here. And
Joe, how you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good. Bill, how's it going? Hey,
good.
I got to give a shout out. Ray Didinger wrote the foreword to it as well.
Oh, and I loved it. That was very charming and real.
Bill, before I get into it too much with the guys, I wanted to mention to you, because I promised this guy that I would mention that a friend of yours, I guess he's a friend of yours, is also a friend of mine, played for the Falcons, named Ken Burrow, and he wanted me to say hi to you.
Well, tell him thanks, and I appreciate that. I've had a lot of brain concussions, so I'm trying to think. His face will come up to my brain one of these days.
Yeah, he caught a couple of touchdown passes over the Eagles secondary in '73, so he remembers you.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, I'm going to ask the very first question of, you, Joe. You've written several other books. In fact, I'm going to put those up on the screen. There's a few of them, 3 of them. That 1970s NFL book looks great. But I have to ask you, Joe, why did you decide to write one about Super Bill Bradley?
Here's how it went. I guess about a decade ago, maybe a little longer ago, an acquaintance of mine online had mentioned that Bill Bradley might be interested in getting his biography written. And I had known Bill because I lived up in the Philadelphia area back at that time. I'd known of him. I'd never met him. And I thought, man, he's an interesting guy. I'd love to see if I could possibly write a book on him. So I sent Bill a copy of my first book, The NFL in the 1970s. And Bill wrote back to me, he called me back up, and he said, you put me on page 28 in your book, and I wore number 28, so let's do it. And so that's how we started. I started interviewing Bill, and I thought, he's just too interesting not to have a book written about him.
My number from junior high all the way up through high school and the University of Texas was 18.
Mm-hmm.
So I get drafted by the Eagles in the 3rd round. I get there, and to Rusty Sweeney, who was the equipment manager, I said, I'd like to have a jersey with 18 on it. He said, oh, no, you can't do that. I said, why? It's my lucky number. So he said, no, Ben Hawkins has it, and I'm not giving his number to you. And so I said, well, maybe I'll just make it 28. I'll just go a digit up on the first deal. And it was a very lucky number for me in Philly. So, but 8, if you look at it, it's a zodiac sign, the number 8. It's balance and leadership and all kinds of stuff. And I said, well, that describes me in a way.
And that's how I got started writing on Bill Bradley. And I interviewed him more than a dozen times over the phone. And his stories were just so incredible that I said, this has got to be a good book.
Philadelphia is my favorite place other than my home.
Well, they call you the mayor of Philly.
Well, I used to hang out with Rizzo. And I acted right when I was around Rizzo because only a few people like Rusty Sweeney, our equipment manager, knew where all the bodies were buried.
Hey, Bill, a couple months ago, we had Joe Watson from the Flyers on our show. Oh. Joe also put out a book recently, very similar to this book, kind of his story. It's called Thundermouth, an outstanding read, just like the one Joe put together. Interesting how you guys from that era have so many great stories to tell, and such a interesting life that got you from where you were to where you ended up.
Well, I was humbled back when I went to the University of Texas, and it was, we were voted to be the best team in the Southwest Conference, me at quarterback and blah, blah, blah. Well, we went 0-1-1. We tied Oklahoma, and Texas Tech beat us, and Coach Royal calls me in his office. This is Super Bill now. And the quarterback gets all the credit, but he also gets all the blame. And so I go into his office, and he leans forward in his old plush office, and he says, Bill, we're going to make some changes around here, and we're going to start with you. Now, if you want to keep your scholarship, you can come back out to practice today, and we'll try to find a spot for you. Well, I looked at him, and I knew a little bit of the rules. I said, Coach Royal, I don't even have to come back out to practice today, and I still get to keep my scholarship. But I will be at practice today. So I did, and I was backing up James Street, and then the defensive coordinator had a right cornerback that got hurt, and so he knew that I had played DB in high school, and so he put me in as a safety. Gosh almighty, I ended up right off the bat, I think I got 11 one year and 9 the next, and gosh almighty, it just changed my life when Coach Royal demoted me. And I used to hate him. And then I've been coaching now for 30 some odd years, and I understand the hard decisions you got to make as a coach, not only to keep your job, but to be a winner. And so it changed my whole life. And so Philadelphia was the place where I made a football life.
And with Bill's moving the defense, that really kind of gave him an edge when he was playing defense in the pros, because he played as a quarterback at University of Texas, so he kind of knew the in and outs of a passing game, and he was able to put himself in the right position to make interceptions as soon as he got into the pros.
Let me jump in and talk about that. He got drafted by the Eagles in 1969, and early in his career as a defensive back, led the NFL in interceptions back-to-back years. That was in the early 70s. He was the first player to ever do that. And a certain reporter who covered the Birds over your career and who happened to write the foreword for this book had an up-close look at every one of your picks. Watch this, guys.
Billy was just a natural ball hawk and a guy that just had a laser beam on the football. Always seemed to know where the ball was going. Billy's one of the two best safeties that's ever played for the Philadelphia Eagles. If you were doing an all-time Eagles team, the safety positions would probably be about the easiest to name. It would be Brian Dawkins and Bill Bradley. Those would be your two safeties.
Ray Diddy speaks very highly of you, Bill Bradley.
Well, there's Ray putting Brian first again. No, I feel like I'm in great company with him. But sometimes they forget about older players, and a lot of them aren't with us anymore. And that's why I'm in my hometown. One of my best friends' funeral is it's either weddings or funerals now, and the weddings grandkids.
Right. Hey, Bill, I got something I want to throw out there. I've read this book that Joe wrote. I read The Kids Got It Right by Jim Dent, another great read. And I also watched the My All-American movie, the Freddie Steinmark story. I have one huge takeaway I want to throw at you about Bill Bradley. And I'm going to go with Mr. Bradley, your dad, Cephas, as you call him. It was about attitude. Bill Bradley is about attitude, is my takeaway. And it was always positive. Even when things didn't go your way, Cephas said, "You ain't coming home."
Oh, yeah.
And to me, we all hope our kids were able to teach them that way, teach them the right way. And it seems like you got that very well from your dad.
Oh, yeah. I got demoted from quarterback after we went 0-1-1 at the University of Texas. And my best friend, we had summer jobs. We worked on a ranch together in Tyler, Texas, before we went to the University of Texas. I was in my second year. He was in his first year. Well, he took my job. And but we knew each other, we loved each other, and so I was demoted. And the first practice, the word got out at the University of Texas, and our sideline, it was an open sideline that people could come watch practice. We weren't installing anything or anything, but there was a big change from me to James, and 3 or 4 other guys got demoted too, but they didn't even mention their names, but they went on and did well too. So we go out to practice, and and I'm wide receiver now, and I'm back. They only had one receiver in the wishbone, and I was number 2, so I never hardly saw the field except for punting, holding, and returning punts, and the coin tosses. So we were playing A&M, and I threw 4 interceptions a year before, and now I'm at cornerback, right? They called us halfbacks back then, and Ed Hargett for the Aggies had thrown 125 passes without an interception. They were our arch rival, A&M and UT, with alumni, with everybody in the state of Texas. And so he had thrown those many passes, and I'm playing right halfback, cornerback nowadays. And they were in the I sprint out system, which I was in as a high schooler in Palestine, Texas, where I'm sitting right now. And we won a state championship our first 2 years before the wishbone. We were in the I sprint out system. So me being a cornerback, not a safety then, but I was still punting, holding, and returning punts. So I was active and captain of the team. So we go out there, and so by Ed Hargett's second or third step in the I sprint out system, I knew what he was going to do. All I had to do was watch him, and he telegraphed it. So I get 4 interceptions in that game. It's only my 4th game at DB, and I knew what he was doing, and I get 4 passes intercepted. And so the Eagles drafted me in the 3rd round as a punter/player. And I backed up Joe Scarpati, who was probably one of the smartest young safeties in the league back then, small like me, a little bit smaller. He knew everything, and I picked his brain for a whole year before he retired, and I backed him up. And I did some of the scout teams as a punter and this and that and the other, and did the punting and all that stuff, and actually did some of the scout teams as a quarterback. But so when they inserted me, I had picked, and he retired, and I had picked his brain, and he taught me so much inner workings of defensive football. A lot of people had a lot of impressions on my life, but I really would like to thank him for teaching me how to be a really good pro football safety.
Hey, Joe, let me ask you, in working on the book, what was the most surprising thing that you discovered about Bill Bradley?
I would have to say that the most surprising thing was what could have happened in 1973 when Mike McCormick became the Eagles head coach. See, Bill had just coming off his 2nd straight year of leading the entire NFL in interceptions. And I'm of the belief that if it's not broke, you don't try and fix it. Well, Mike McCormick decided to try and fix something that wasn't broke. And that was Bill's ability to freelance in the secondary. He knew, what was going on, and he could adjust, and he could make those interceptions. Once they toured with that, and they tried to stop him from doing freelancing in the secondary, his interception numbers dropped down. I firmly believe that if Mike McCormick had left Bill Bradley alone to do what he was able to do in 71 and 72, we're not just talking about a 3-time interception league champion. We're talking about a Hall of Famer. But I also believe that in 74, nobody would have thrown towards Bill Bradley's territory by that time. You lead the league in interceptions 3 years in a row, they're not going to throw anywhere near you.
We had a good defense. With Tim Rosovich at middle linebacker, Hobbs at outside linebacker, and different players, we had a great pass rush. And so I have to credit those guys because they would put pressure on quarterbacks. Now, we didn't have winning seasons, but we never gave up. And that's Philly, man. That's Philly rubbing out. When they introduce you, come out of underneath the tunnel and stuff, and they introduce you, and the whole stands at home boo them. And we wanted to change some of that. Some of us really, I took offense to it. I didn't hate the fans, but they were right. We needed to win some games, but we never did. And that's the toughest thing that I have to dream about or think about is that we never had a winning season. We went 500 one year. And after we left, Dick came in and he moved everybody around and ended up going to the Super Bowl. And I got traded to the Vikings. Dick was amazing, and he wanted to get his USC guy in there at safety. We didn't hit it off too good about that, But I knew I was going to still get paid, so it didn't hurt me that much. I was going to get paid big money, $15,000-$17,000 a year. And I thought I was the richest son of gun in East Texas.
Bill Bradley is clearly a free spirit. And on that note, once again, here's Ray Didinger.
Billy was very much an athlete of his time. He was very much a child of the 60s and 70s. Long hair, big mustache, driving around in his van, single guy, loving the single life, and very much a free spirit.
Yeah, for sure. And on that note, speaking to you being a free spirit, Bill, you became friendly with a bunch of Phillies players and higher-ups. You went to a lot of Phillies ball games. And, well, shall we say, you got to know a lot of Phillies hot pants patrol usherettes. Is that a true story?
They just called them the hot pants girls, but their pants went down to their knee. They were just Bermuda shorts. But they got called the hot, those are a little bit shorter. But they were kind of sexy. So I started running around with a couple of them that I'd met at a beer bar. And we became close. We're still friends today. One of them just passed away, but we're still friends today. And, boy, I had more fun hanging out with those girls when I was a bachelor. I made the cover of Philadelphia Magazine as a bachelor, so they loved it. And we hung out so much together with the hot pants girls, and Denise and Debbie. And that's their names. And I'm not going to tell you their last names, but they were the best. And I never missed a Phillies game. I got to sit in the dugout when they were practicing sometime the Eagles, because I got drafted out of high school by the Detroit Tigers as a shortstop in the 5th round. So I knew baseball. I'd go out there and get my running in and shag balls, And so every once in a while I'd get over at shortstop, and Mike Smith, he was up there and I was out there, and I moved up to shortstop, and he was taking batting practice, and mostly outfielders, because trying to hit home runs every time he hit a ball, and he did. So I'm out there at shortstop, and I'm patting my glove, I'm in my little workout clothes, and I said, hey, Smitty. And he looks over at me. I said, I bet you can't hit one by me. He hit one that was a little soft hopper. I think he was setting me up, and I got my glove down. I filled it and rolled it to the pitcher. So he got up there, and as I was walking back to the shortstop, I said, hey, Smitty, is that all you got? He took stubbornness to it, and the next pitch he hit a line drive that whizzed by my ear. And if he would have hit my ear and taken my ear off.
Hey, Bill, we got away from the University of Texas stories, but I wanted to throw this one out here. This is in my collection. Bill Bradley, Hook'em, number 18, 65-68 in the 100th anniversary helmet. That is one of my personal collection items.
I got one of those too in my man cave.
You told us this story the very first time you were on with us 8 or 9 years ago. The year you held out, 1972. And while the rest of the team was in training camp, you were outside the practice facility selling fruit, sandwiches, and soft drinks out of the trunk of your car. What was going on there?
It wasn't a trunk. I had a 67 Volkswagen. I had the doors.
Yes, that's right.
And Sis Rundle, who was a great friend. She dated Rosovich, and she ended up being on the Charlie's Angel TV show as a girl, not an angel, but a girl that sat in whenever. She was beautiful and a great gal from Reading. And so I'd go out sliding up the door at practice to watch them, and I would, set up a table out there. I'd sell, bologna sandwiches and some Cokes and stuff, and watch them practice and things like that while I was negotiating my contract with Retzlaff. So he couldn't believe it. He'd walk by and shake his head. No. And I wasn't asking for the moon. I just wanted to get what I deserved, leading the league in interceptions and punting and holding and returning. I wanted to be paid the amount of $17,000 for 4 guys, because he was going to have to get 4 guys, at least 3, to take my place. So I wanted to make a 4-guy deal, and he did not like it, you know. He didn't like it at all. And so I got Sis and a couple of her friends wear some of them hot pants, and we sold Cokes, we sold sandwiches and everything. And they weren't getting paid but about maybe $25 a day in training camp, 2 days. And I was making $75 to $100 a day. I wasn't in a hurry to sign my contract, so I had a grip on them because they needed a safety, and I'd just done pretty well. And the media got on my side, especially, you know, the good ones like the one y'all have doing the commercials. So they took care of me. They helped me out and trying to put pressure on WrestleMania to sign me.
Hey, Joe, before we run out of time, let's get to the book.
I was told that the book wasn't going to be released until September 10th, but it's out now. You can get it on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. Those are the 2 main spots where you can order the book. And while you're ordering that book, why not order the NFL in the 1970s book?
Betcha.
The book that started it all. And you can go on Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble and get both of them. The Bill Bradley book, it's filled with a lot of great stories from Bill, and some that you're probably not going to believe, but it is true. Because Bill told me they're true, so I got to believe them.
If you check it out, some people will substantiate it, too.
That's right.
Hey, Bill, the season is upon us. Are you making an annual trip to Philadelphia like you usually do for the Ring of Honor weekend, or what's the travel plans this year?
We're going to make the plan to come, and I will be there. I have to talk to some of the people at the Eagles first.
All right, guys, we've gone way longer than we expected to. Again, the book is Free Spirit at Free Safety, the incredible but true football journey of Bill Bradley. Joe Zagorski, Bill Bradley, this has been loads of fun. Thanks, guys.
Hey, man, that's a great book. It's right on, man.
Thanks for letting me be on the show, and thank you, Bill.
Oh, yeah, thank you for having me, you guys. Philly's my town, man, and around here, every once in a while, I'll find a place that has a Philly cheesesteak, but they don't taste near like Pat's or any of those.
Right.
I still get a little bit of a taste of it.
Joe, thanks for joining us. Super Bill, always great talking to you. Always great hearing your stories, my friend.
Oh, you guys are wonderful, and I appreciate you still thinking about me. And hey, go Birds, fly Eagles, fly. And I say that every time I see a star on somebody's shirt, like the Cowboys.